This is an overview of the economy of the U.S. with a particular focus on California, as that is the desired location for our client. There is a certain mystique about California as a place to do business, and what the slide shows are some excerpts from a recent Milken Institute study of California and its importance. It definitely has a entrepreneurial environment with risk being part of the landscape, as well as having access to terrific schools, universities known for their science and technology. And it's a place of disruption. It's a place for new things to be developed and to launch and to gain entry into a marketplace. If we're looking at high tech in particular, this shows how important California is in the high tech sector in the United States, clearly outdistancing its next rival in that regard of Texas, with 2.5 million Californians involved in some way in high-tech industry. Within California, you can see that there's a big concentration of high-tech in Northern California, in obviously the Silicon Valley area. But it's also worthy to note that in Southern California there is also a significant presence of high tech, and in particular with this client, it may be interesting for them to review the aeronautics industry that is rather abundant in Southern California. Within California, again, we look at where high-tech talent is located, and it's in the San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara area, the so-called peninsula to the south of the city of San Francisco. Things that support California's preeminence in R&D are a strong university system with very well-known, highly regarded schools of engineering, technology, computer technology, materials science. There's also an abundance of capital that is oriented towards higher risk, newly emerging technologies. So the whole venture capital industry has been founded in Northern California, and there are many investment firms that are looking for the next thing and willing to bet on a new technology that may be associated with a higher risk. And along with that is the talent network. So in the Silicon Valley area, there is an abundance of highly trained, very experienced talent that has a very deep resume of experience in high-tech industries. And the state is also fostering innovation through tax incentives and ways for new companies to be able to set up shop in a manner that will be highly attractive to those outside companies. So in this project, we're looking from the U.S. side, we're looking at the idea of foreign direct investment, which is a very highly desired component of the U.S. overall economy, and where public policy has recognized the importance of FDI and is developing programs to attract it. So This chart shows that the FDI portion of high tech uh, has formed a significant amount of overall high tech economic development, albeit that at about 10%, the policymakers would certainly like to have that increase. California is the target for foreign direct investment. Though this study is a few years old, it shows that year after year, California has been the leader in attracting foreign direct investment. In looking at the countries that result in the highest level of employment by making a foreign direct investment, we see that the United Kingdom is the largest country in terms of the jobs that it has created in the United States in the high tech sector. But things are not all rosy in terms of FDI in California. There are some barriers that companies like our client need to think about. The increasing difficulty in visas. Uh, California has a relatively complex tax environment, although there are some offsetting incentives for high-tech companies that, like our client. The attractiveness of California as a place for high-tech companies is driving up labor costs, as are also, for the same reasons, housing is becoming more and more a challenge. Affordable housing is becoming more and more a challenge for mid-level workers. And in, as is the case throughout the United States, without a government healthcare system, companies are burdened by having to provide healthcare coverage that often amounts to a significant proportion of overall labor costs. And then finally, the environmental factors of regulation and increasing concern, especially in the state of California as compared to other states, increasing concern over the effect of manufacturing and overall business activity on the environment, and that comes with some sometimes burdensome regulations. On the other side, we're looking at taxes and regulatory issues related to some exemptions. So, in some cases, manufacturing gets an exemption from certain taxes. There are tax credits for research and development, and then there are also incentives and credits for companies that are creating jobs. Further incentives might be in the form of industrial development bonds, which is a form of debt financing for capital equipment that carries very attractive rates and can be very attractive to companies looking to start operations in the state, as well as a program that's been developed that is focused on creating job opportunities for military veterans, many of whom may have the kind of training that would be attractive to our client. And lastly, let's take a look at the overall cultural side of doing business, especially in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is rather unique, even within California, where the talent in Silicon Valley greatly appreciates the social value of what they're doing and the impact on society. And we'll see in a minute, it's not always about the money, but the fact that there might be meaningful work that comes out of working for a innovative company. In Silicon Valley, the notion of good enough is more the norm, where products are built as a minimum viable product, MVP, sometimes launched in a somewhat unfinished beta state and then improved as it is used and as customers experience the product. The development then is sort of on the fly, so it's often an iterative kind of product development. Silicon Valley also really values quick decision making, and what is often found in and around the Silicon Valley area is that a breakthrough product might be introduced and quickly Me Too products are coming in, not that far behind, but obviously the winning formula is not just the new idea, but the ability to execute on that idea. People who work in Silicon Valley value a sense of freedom in the way that they perform their duties and responsibilities. And the idea of bureaucracy and layers is very much problematic for the typical Silicon Valley executive or worker. The people who work in Silicon Valley are very loyal to the cause of what the company is doing, and maybe even a little bit less committed to the company itself. And so you find that as companies develop similar products that might have better social impact, workers will transfer and move around to chase the cause rather than work for a company for a long time. So the workforce is highly mobile. People are not career oriented as we may think traditionally, and the fact is that many executives and workers in Silicon Valley change companies every 2 or 3 years, and the willingness to change is also, it can be an advantage to the hiring company, because the hiring company gets somebody who's had an increasing level of experience in several other companies. In Silicon Valley, failure is something that is very much tolerated. It isn't encouraged, but failure is not a job killer. If you fail with a company or with a project, it means that you've been willing to take a risk. And what's valued in Silicon Valley is not only the experience of failure, but also the resilience that develops from people that may have failed in one or more situations. When we look at the Silicon Valley talent, we see that, as we talked about initially, we see that the actual dollars in the paycheck, they're important, but they are not the key driver to an employee's satisfaction. It's about doing something meaningful, and also to be working in an environment around other people that have similar values, who have similar interests and a similar purpose. So as we move forward in this project with our client, it will be helpful to have them understand the uniqueness that they may face in the business climate and culture in California as compared to other markets and other places where they may have operations.